The Muslims were fed up with the oppression, so Muhammad gave them permission to migrate to Medina. So they secretly headed for Medina. But Muhammad himself, who was the real target of the oppressors, kept waiting for God's command for himself so that God would allow him. So he said goodbye to Mecca. And he met those sincere companions who had left their homeland only for God and had not cared about wealth or children in their eagerness to meet the Ansar, people of Medina. Who were the Ansars? Those fortunate ones who had helped Muhammad. They had offered Muhammad protection services and who had pledged to sacrifice themselves in the way of God by shaking hands. May Allah bless the emigrants. What blessings had they been deprived of only for God, and what kinds of things did they endure? May Allah also bless the Ansars for inviting their religious brothers to their homes and making them stay in their homes, only for the pleasure of Allah. Finally, the order to migrate came and Muhammad decided to go to Medina. At that time, the conspiracy of Quraysh was also complete, and the whole plan was ready. What was the matter? When the Muslims migrated, they got a wide field for invitation. People were very impressed by the blessings of Islam and started moving towards it very quickly. Islam started being talked about everywhere, and the strength of the Muslims started increasing. When the Quraysh saw this, they became very scared. They felt that now various dangers were arising. There were also signs of a very strong war between the Quraysh and the Ansars. This made them even more nervous. They thought that in this way, our going to Syria would also stop. Trade would come to a complete halt and we would miss every grain. So, they gathered in Dar al-Nidwa, because this was their consultation house. Here, everyone sat and started thinking of some plan which would stop the spread of Islam. People offered different opinions. One said, "Put chains on Muhammad's hands and feet, then lock him in some house." The second said, "By God, if he is imprisoned, it will be talked about everywhere. Then it will be very bad. The Muslims will immediately attack, and they will not rest until they take him away from us." The third said, "It is not good for Muhammad to stay here. Let him be released in some remote area. Then, he can go wherever he wants and stay wherever he wants." The fourth said, "This opinion is very foolish. Don't you see how sweetly he talks? How elegantly he talks? He captivates hearts in minutes. There is danger in doing this. Either he will reach another tribe and make them like us with his magic, or he will reach Medina and reaching there will be even more dangerous. As soon as he leaves, he will take his companions with him and crush us. Then what should we do?" Everyone spoke together. The voices were dripping with panic and despair. Abu Jahl said, "There is a possibility about which no one has thought of yet." Everyone asked eagerly, "Hey, is that Abu al-Hakam?" He said, "My opinion is that first, we should choose a wrestler and a brave young man from each tribe. Then, put a sword in each's hand, and all of them should attack Muhammad together. In this way, he will be finished and we will get peace forever. Because in this way, the blood will be divided among all the tribes, and obviously the Bani Hashim will not be able to compete with all the tribes. They will be forced to be satisfied with bloodshed, i.e., 100 camels." Everyone liked this opinion. Everyone jumped up with joy. Everyone congratulated Abu Jahl. Abu al-Hakam, "In truth, it is a great opinion." The assembly was dissolved and everyone was dancing happily. It was as if Muhammad had left the world. The name and trace of Muhammad's invitation had been erased from the minds. The world had become unfamiliar with Muhammad's invitation, and the layers of time had fallen on it. People went and started choosing young men who would kill Muhammad and started arranging the swords that they would use on the body of Muhammad. And remember, O Prophet, when the disbelievers conspired to capture, kill, or exile you, they planned, but Allah also planned. and Allah is the best of planners. The polytheists made a plan for the murder and everyone braced themselves for it. Since all the tribes were participating in it, the Hashim family could not even take revenge. Allah had decided that Muhammad should not be harmed in the slightest. Thus, the plan of the Quraysh would backfire, and they themselves became the target of their own conspiracy. Allah guided Muhammad and they failed. That terrible night came, in which the polytheists decided to ambush Muhammad. So they surrounded the house. Oh, how terrible! That was the scene. There were sparks in their eyes and very sharp swords in their hands, in whose sheaths death was hidden. In Arabia, it was forbidden to enter a house where women also lived. Therefore, they remained outside and waited for the opportunity for Muhammad to come out and kill him. Meanwhile, Allah informed Muhammad. Hazrat Ali was also with him. To him, Muhammad said, I have been ordered to migrate. The enemies are surrounding the house today and are eager to kill me. Then he said, Ali, I will leave for Medina today. You sleep in my bed and also wear my green cloak. Allah willing, you will not be harmed. Go in the morning and return all the trusts. Then you too can leave. What was the matter? Although the Quraysh were enemies of Muhammad's life, but Muhammad was also their trustee. Whoever had to keep a trust, he would keep it with Muhammad. Even then, Muhammad had many trusts. This was the reason why Muhammad did not take Ali with him. He left him in Mecca to return the trusts. On one hand, there are those who are thirsty for blood. They have bloody swords in their hands. They are surrounding the house, so that Muhammad can come out and tear apart the parts of the blessed body. And on the other side, the honesty of the Amin of Quraysh. He has a pile of trust. Whose trusts are these? Those of the same oppressors who are thirsty for Muhammad's blood. If Muhammad wanted, he could take all the trust and leave. No one could do anything to him or say anything to him. Then at that time Muhammad was poor. He was also in dire need of wealth. But all this on one side, the trustworthiness of the Amin of Quraysh on the other side. He is not even willing to take a single pill from it. Then, not only this, but he also leaves his beloved brother there. Yes, in the midst of dangers. Why? Only so that he can deliver the trusts of the oppressors to them. Ali said, May Allah protect you, and Muhammad left. As they parted, both of them said in a tone of great passion and love, If Allah wills, we will meet again in Medina. Then, Ali lay down on his bed and slept with a green cloak. The enemies were waiting for Muhammad. Every moment was being showered on them. It was late, so they started looking inside. When they looked at the bed, they said, Look at that, Muhammad is sleeping. There is also a cloak on his body. Then they waited for the sleeper, that he came out, and they pounced him together. Before it was happened, the night passed longer. So they were negligent, and Muhammad left them and went out. 2 or 3 days before that, Muhammad went to Abu Bakr's house. It was noontime. Knocked on the door. Then Hazrat Abu Bakr came out. As soon as he saw him, he said spontaneously, Perhaps there is something special that you bothered at this time. Then, after permission, Muhammad visited the house. He said, Who are the people here? Remove them for a while. I have some advice. Abu Bakr said, There is no one here except your wife. Muhammad was married to Aisha. Muhammad said, We got permission to migrate. Abu Bakr said very eagerly, My father sacrificed for you. Will I also have the honor of companionship? Muhammad said, Yes. It was to hear that tears of joy floated in the eyes. He said, Messenger of Allah, I have prepared some equipment, which will be useful in jihad. I have also prepared 2 camels for the journey, and I have also spoken to Abdullah bin Arakat. It will be convenient for the journey. Muhammad said, There is no need for camels now. First, we will turn to the south. We will stay in the cave of Thor for a few days. Abu Bakr understood. What was the purpose of this? Even before this, he had repeatedly experienced his amazing understanding and knew how much subtle plans he did, that the enemy always failed. Cave of Thor is south of Mecca, 3 miles away and on the way to Yemen. Muhammad thought that everyone who heard that Muhammad had left Mecca would think that he would be on the way to Medina and run towards the north, because Medina is north of Mecca. From here, Muhammad made such a map that the pursuers would fail and return, and they would not even know where Muhammad had gone. The last night of Mecca, when the enemies surrounded the house, he directly reached Abu Bakr's house. He took him and came out of a window at the back of the house and started to take fast steps in the night in peace and dark silence. Then they reached out of Mecca, turned to the south and proceeded to the cave of Thor. On the other hand, Ali's eyes opened early in the morning, and he left the bed and got up. When there was a sigh, the enemies also became alert, that now it was time to work. But who got up from Muhammad's bed? People would look inside Rosen with eagerness again and again, and would leave in surprise. This is not Muhammad who wakes up from sleep. This is Abu Talib's son Ali. What is this? These were the words which came out of their tongues helplessly. They were completely amazed. Did we sit for Ali all night? Did we think of Ali as Muhammad? Why did Ali sleep on Muhammad's bed today? And where is Muhammad? Everyone was asking each other in a bad mood, but there was no one to answer. Then after some time, other men also came, and now there was a crowd of people. People were walking eagerly to see what happened to Muhammad. But when they reached here, they found that Muhammad was hiding somewhere. Everyone was surprised. They became miserable with anger. They went to the house and asked Ali, "Where is your companion?" Got the answer, "I don't know." Now, they caught Ali and brought him out, and kept beating him so that Muhammad could be found out. But Ali kept saying, "I don't know." Then, when they were completely disappointed, they took Ali and locked him in the Kaaba. But even there they did not have mercy and continued to persecute him. Even some relatives reached, and thus Ali's life was saved. When the polytheists made a scheme, on the same day, Muhammad got out of hand. The polytheists were deeply shocked. So, they became mad with anger and started looking for Muhammad, here and there in anger. Some of them ran towards Medina and some went to Abu Bakr's house, because they knew that Abu Bakr was a close friend of Muhammad, and that Muhammad had a special attachment to him. Abu Jahl was also among these people. He knocked on the door of Abu Bakr's house. Then the eldest daughter Asma came out. "Where is the father?" asked by enemies. Asma replied, "I don't know where he went." The enemies misunderstood that Abu Bakr also escaped with Muhammad. Abu Jahl became furious with anger. He could not bear it, and he gave a slap on the innocent cheek with such force that her earring strayed away from the ear. Then the enemies returned, started looking for someone who recognizes and guides footprints. After the search, a man was found who was an expert in recognizing the footprints. His name was Suraka bin Malik. He walked looking at the footprints of the Prophet and the lover of the Prophet. Behind, there was a gathering of Quraysh. As they walked, they came out of Makkah. Now, Suraka turned south and headed towards Mount Thor. People were very surprised. Everyone was saying in surprise, "Where did Muhammad go? To the south or to the north?" The enemies were not understanding anything but kept walking with Suraka, so that he might succeed. Suraka kept walking, seeing the footprints on the sand. Then he started climbing Mount Thor. God had promised the messenger that he will thwart the plot of the enemies and will not let even the slightest attack on Muhammad. Who can be more truthful than him? Suraka climbed the mountain. The enemy's convoy was also with him. Then suddenly he stopped. The face was sad. It was showing surprise and panic. He did not understand where to go now and where to go. The enemies saw this situation, so they asked, "What is the matter?" Suraka pointed to a stone in front and said, "To this stone, both of them came. Then I don't know. Where did they go?" It was said that a laugh was raised. "Hey, Suraka, what happened to you today? By God, you have never been deceived like this." Then a shepherd appeared at some distance, who was grazing his goats. The enemies asked, "Did you see two men climbing this mountain?" The answer was, "I have not seen anyone. But look in the cave. Maybe there will be someone." Now, the Quraysh quickly climbed the mountain. Then they ran towards the cave. They were armed with arrows, swords and sticks, and everyone wanted to be credited with killing Muhammad. At that time, Muhammad was standing in the cave, praying, and Abu Bakr was sitting near him, trembling. The heart was beating, so that the eyes of the oppressors would not fall on Muhammad. The voices of the enemies were also coming to the ears. Their direction was also understood, and now the sound of footsteps, clattering of sticks, and terrible sounds of screams were getting closer. Abu Bakr was quiet. The eyes were on Muhammad. His heart wanted to hide Muhammad inside his heart, and could cover Muhammad with his body. Then Muhammad finished the prayer. Seeing Muhammad's life in danger, Abu Bakr was in a state of fear and panic. The face was down and the heart was beating. Muhammad realized everything. He immediately encouraged him and said, "Do not be afraid, Allah is with us." A young man of Quraysh quickly moved towards the cave. He was only a short distance away when he suddenly stopped. Then he returned. The face was yellow with regret. He was immersed in despair. His colleagues, who were also moving fast behind, seeing this, they also stopped and said, "What happened? Why did you return, without looking into the cave?" He said with despair, "Muhammad has not been born yet. Since then there is a spider's camp on it. There is also a nest of 2 wild pigeons at the mouth of the cave. A tree is also standing on the way." This made me realize that no one can be inside it. Abu Bakr also heard this voice. He understood that Allah wants to save his messenger. He has all these arrangements. The enemies reached the mouth of the cave and were strolling around. Abu Bakr was also looking at their feet, but by God's will, no one looked inside the cave. Abu Bakr said softly in Muhammad's ear, "If one of them looks at his feet, then he sees us." Muhammad said, "Abu Bakr, what do you think about those 2? The third of which is Allah." Then the enemies left the cave, and now they started coming down from the mountain to go and see elsewhere. Despite much searching, there was no success. Still, their morale remained high and they continued to run in the sun. Because the Quraysh had announced that whoever would catch Muhammad, 100 camels would be rewarded. Everyone wanted to get these 100 camels. They were crazy behind this greed. Holy Prophet and Abu Bakr stayed in this cave for 3 days. Abu Bakr's son, Abdullah, used to find out throughout the day what plans the Quraysh were making. Then whatever news was received, he would come and aware them at night. His sister, Asma, would also be with him. She would cook food from home. Late at night, Abu Bakr's slave, Amir bin Fahira, would bring the goats after grazing. Muhammad and Abu Bakr would drink their milk. Then the 3 would go back to Makkah. Abdullah and his sister would go ahead and Amir bin Fahira and his followed behind them, so that the footprints of both of them would be erased. Thus, 3 days passed. The search for the beloved Prophet and Abu Bakr stopped now, and those who had gone out to look for Muhammad returned home disappointed, because they thought that now most of the journey would have been done, and now Muhammad would have reached somewhere. So it's futile to chase. Abdullah used to tell all the news of Quraysh to his beloved Prophet and beloved father every day. He also narrated the situation of Quraysh's disappointment. Abu Bakr heard it, so he said to Abdullah, "Bring the 2 camels that I have prepared. But look, no one will know and also call Abdullah bin Arakat. He was a disbeliever, but Abu Bakr had trust in him. Therefore, they had fixed him on wages, so that he would deliver them to Medina through an uninhabited route." As soon as the evening fell, Abdullah left for the cave Ophtha. His sister Asma and Amir bin Fahira were also with him. Behind them was Abdullah bin Arakat, who was bringing both the camels of Abu Bakr and one of his camels. After some time, these people came to the cave with camels. Abu Bakr presented it to Muhammad and said, "May the Messenger of Allah ride on it." It was not easy for the benefactor of the world to accept this favor. He said, "I do not sit on another's camel." Abu Bakr said, "It is now yours, Messenger of Allah. May my parents be sacrificed to you." Muhammad said, "No, at the same price as you have bought." Abu Bakr had to be ready for that. Asma prepared the travel equipment. From home, she had brought a musket full of food and water in a breakfast den, and was to be placed on the camel, but there was no bond to tie it. So worried about what to do. Then she tore the nitek. Women wrapped it around the waist and cut it into 2 pieces and tied the breakfast and musket to one. This is the reason she came to be known by the title of Zat al-Nitakin. Then Muhammad and Abu Bakr both rode on camels. Abdullah bin Arakat Laythi also sat on his camel. Abu Bakr made the slave sit behind so that if there was any need on the way, there would be no trouble. Then, this caravan left under the guidance of Abdullah bin Arakat. It went through the coastal route, which was completely deserted and uninhabited. The longings of the Quraysh were bloodied and the desires of the heart remained in the heart. They were deeply shocked by this. So now, wherever they would gather, they would cry about it. The beloved Prophet was out of hand. Quraysh sat in one of their meetings, expressing their grief and sorrow when a man entered. He had just returned from a trip. He said, "I was coming from the coastal route when 3 men passed in front of me. I think they were Muhammad and his companions. There was also a man named Suraka. He was the son of Jasham. He was a very far-reaching and sensible man." Hearing this, he understood that this man's guess was absolutely correct. But he wished that he would have the pride of catching Muhammad, and 100 camels of reward were also tied at my door. So, he immediately denied this news to deceive the people. He said, "No, now some men have gone to this side in front of me. I know them well." Everyone found Suraka's words to be true, and no one paid attention to this man. After that, Suraka sat there for some time. Then he got up and left for home. As soon as he reached home, he got ready with weapons. Then he ordered one of his servants and he saddled the horse and brought him out of Makkah. In no time, Suraka also reached there. He wanted no one to see him while going out of Makkah. Then, reaching out of Makkah, he rode his horse and left the bridle. Now the horse was kicking up dust, moving rapidly towards the shore. Was it possible that Suraka would catch up with Muhammad, when Allah had saved him from the dangers that were hovering over the cave? No, not at all. Allah cannot turn his gaze away from Muhammad, when he is promised to thwart all conspiracies. The horse had only just advanced a short distance when it stumbled and was about to throw Suraka to the ground. But Suraka quickly recovered and then turned it over. Now, the horse started running fast. But it had not gone far when it stumbled again. But the courage of the rider did not weaken, and he again took control of the horse and then turned on its heel. Although now he was a little intimidated, a little afraid and harassed, a little disappointed, and the horse was again galloping away. The caravan continued for a day and a night. On the way, no enemy was encountered, and no pursuer was seen. So, Abu Bakr was now completely satisfied, and the panic and anxiety in his heart had gone away. There was no longer any fear of danger regarding Muhammad. Then, since it was noon on the second day, and the body was being roasted by the heat of the sun, therefore Abu Bakr wanted Muhammad to rest for a while. So he looked everywhere and saw shade under a rock. He went there and got down. Then he quickly prepared a place for Muhammad, spread goat's leather, and served him food. Everyone sat down and ate together. Then Muhammad closed his eyes for a while and began to rest. The sun had now set, and at that time a shepherd was grazing goats nearby. Abu Bakr went and asked him to milk him. Then he came to Muhammad and mixed a little water with the milk and offered it to him to drink. Muhammad drank it and said, "Isn't it time to leave yet?" Then Muhammad started to leave from there. Suddenly, Abu Bakr's eyes fell towards the south. He saw a horse galloping very fast. Abu Bakr's heart started pounding. He said, "O Messenger of Allah, now we have been caught." But Muhammad's peace remained the same. He said very calmly, "Abu Bakr, do not be afraid. Allah is with us." Allah was truly with them. Suraka's horse had come very close. It was right in front of their eyes, and the sound of its hooves was coming to their ears. But suddenly there was a very strong stumble, and this time the feet of the horse were in the ground up to his knees, and the rider rolled to the ground. His face was completely covered with sand, and his courage also responded. Suraka now became convinced that the signs were not good, and that God was not pleased with the work he had undertaken. So he stopped there and called out loudly to Muhammad and his companions, "I am Suraka, son of Jashim. Wait a moment. I will talk a few words. By God, I will not harm you. Rest assured, I will not do anything." Muhammad said, "Abu Bakr, ask, what does he want?" Abu Bakr asked, "Say, what do you want?" Suraka replied, "A writing of peace." Holy Prophet accepted the request and ordered Abu Bakr to write. There was a piece of leather. Abu Bakr wrote what Muhammad said. Then he gave it to Suraka. Suraka took it and mounted his horse and returned to Mecca. All this had happened, but Suraka did not say anything to anyone. However, now he had immense love and affection for Muhammad. So, now if he saw that someone was going to follow Muhammad or was going out to search for him, he would mislead him and try to stop him in any way he could. When Muhammad migrated, there was nothing for Ali in Mecca. First, there was the danger to his life, then the sorrow of being away from Muhammad. Now, he was restless and desperate to meet Muhammad. When he got a leave due to the return of the trusts, he left Mecca as soon as he got the opportunity. There was no camel or mule to ride, but in his eagerness to meet Muhammad, he set off on foot and started walking with great eagerness. This was Ali's loyalty and happiness. What a great man he was, and what a good nature he had. The long journey of that time, that too in a state of solitude and helplessness, and that too on foot. How high was his courage and how firm was his determination. What a path! The vast desert, desolate on all sides, no hope of shade, no possibility of water. The scorching sun from above, the hot sand from below, like sparks of fire. But all these things aside, the love of the Messenger of God on the other hand. Ali jumped into danger without help. He suffered the troubles of the path. He continued to overcome difficult ups and downs and moved forward day and night. He had only one desire, one wish: the closeness of his beloved brother, the meeting of sincere friends, and that was all. He kept walking, until his soles were bleeding. His feet became lifeless, and he had no strength to walk. But his courage was still young. There was a dedication that was pulling him involuntarily, and his feet, bathed in blood, were growing rapidly. He could not bear to stop and take a breath and give his exhausted body some rest. He continued to endure the pain and ran towards his Kaaba, Muhammad, with impatience. There was a small settlement 3 miles away from Medina. It was located at a slight height and was known as Aliyah and Kuba. There were many prominent Muslim families here. The Messenger of God became their guest and stayed there for 14 days. During his stay there, he also laid the foundation of a mosque of his own with his blessed hand, which became known as the Kuba Mosque. It was here that Ali also met Muhammad, and then the younger Mujahid joined the older Mujahid. What a condition of happiness it was now! 3 joys came together at once. The joy of meeting, the joy of being saved from the enemies, and then the joy of reaching his companions. After 14 days, Muhammad headed towards the city with his companions. The news of Muhammad's arrival in Medina had reached. What was next? Everywhere was a strange scene. Muslims, polytheists and Jews were all jumping with joy and singing songs of joy. All the people were filled with passion and love. There was a sense of unity everywhere. Everywhere, there was joy at the arrival of Muhammad. Everyone was in a state of anticipation. Even small children were dancing happily and saying in the streets, "The beloved Prophet is coming." Every day, people would leave the city early in the morning and eagerly gaze at the horizon. Similarly, they would watch Muhammad's path for hours and then return disappointed and sad. One day, they had already returned after waiting, when a voice rose from a high hill and echoed throughout the air. "People, the one you were waiting for has come." This was a short sentence at which the whole of Medina became excited, and everyone's hearts started jumping with joy. The faces of the men shone with joy, and the faces of the children and women blossomed like flowers. This voice was the voice of a Jew, who, like the Muslims, was eagerly waiting for Muhammad. He saw with his own eyes that every Muslim was waiting for Muhammad with uncontrollable joy. There was a strange pomp and show. "What? Muhammad is coming!" He was very impressed by this, and now he too was in a state of expectation. Today he saw a small caravan coming. He immediately understood that this was the guest dear to every heart, and cried out happily, "People, the one whom we were waiting for has come." All the old and young people came out of their homes eagerly to welcome him. Most of the people did not recognize Muhammad, because they had never seen him. But their hearts knew Muhammad well. An ocean of love and passion was beating in their chests. The beloved Prophet met his companions under a palm tree. The people were eager with passion, but could not recognize Muhammad. Abu Bakr pulled a shawl over his head to protect him from the sun, and then the people realized that this was the beloved messenger of Allah. It was Friday. On the way, it was time for prayer. At that time, Muhammad was in the neighborhood of Bani Salim. Therefore, Muhammad performed the Friday prayer there. Along with Muhammad, those loyalists who were already Muslims before seeing Muhammad also performed the prayer. After this, the Messenger of God entered Medina. In this holy land, in which Muhammad was welcomed while his homeland did not support him, Muhammad's maternal relatives Banu Nagar also came armed. Thus, from Kuba to Medina, there were rows of loyalists on both sides of Muhammad. It was a strange scene. Years had passed. Thousands of events of joy and sorrow had occurred. Big festivals and celebrations had been celebrated, but the streets of Medina had never seen such a sight. Every family in Medina wished to have the Messenger of God as their guest. Every tribe would come forward and say, "O Messenger of God, you stay here with us. Look, this is a house, this is wealth, this is life." The Messenger of God would smile and thank them and pray for them. At that time, Muhammad was riding a camel. Muhammad loosened its bridle and said, "I will stay where Allah wills." The camel was walking through the streets of Medina and around the companions of Muhammad. There was a crowd of people who were shouting in excitement, "Allahu Akbar, Muhammad has come. Allahu Akbar. The messenger of God has come. Little boys and innocent girls were playing the tambourine and singing in joy. Women had climbed onto the roofs of houses to get a glimpse of their honored guest. Men had also climbed onto high places and were paying homage in this way. The camel of the beloved Prophet kept walking and kept walking. Then it came to a place, stopped and sat down there. It was the land of 2 orphans of the Najjar family. There were some graves in it, some date palm trees. The camel sat down and the beloved Prophet got down. Then he said, "Whose land is this?" "Muhammad wanted to build a mosque here." Mud, the son of Afra, went forward. He said, "Messenger of God, Sal and Suhail are 2 children. This land belongs to them. Their father is dead, and now they are both in my care. You are welcome to build a mosque here. I will convince them." But Muhammad himself called these orphans. When they both heard, this land should be given free of charge. But Muhammad did not like this and bought it by paying a price. Then the land was leveled and the construction of the mosque began. Muhammad was the guest of Abu Ayyub Ansari. What happened now? He was overjoyed. He took great care of Muhammad and tried to provide every kind of comfort. Muhammad stayed here for 7 months. During this period, the mosque was also built and ready. Then, near the mosque, rooms were built for the mothers of the believers, which are called hujra. After that, Muhammad moved here. The messenger of God stayed in the Najjar tribe. So who can imagine how happy the people of the tribe were? The girls of the Najjar would jump with joy and sing songs involuntarily. The beloved Prophet started living in Medina, and many days passed. These days passed very peacefully. There was every kind of comfort. There was no fear or danger of any kind. The wives of the beloved Prophet were also invited. The beloved daughters also came. Abu Bakr wrote a letter to his son Abdullah. He also came to Medina with his mother and sisters. The other companions also invited their families. The Muslims who had remained in Mecca also came to Medina. They also brought their wives and children with them. But these people came to Medina completely empty-handed. They had nothing with them. This was the reason why the Ansar, although they helped them a lot and took full care of their comfort, still lived in great hardship. What do you think of Muhammad's plan? Just listen and applaud. Muhammad gathered the Ansar, the helpers from Medina, and the Muhajirin, the emigrants from Mecca, then said to the Ansar, "These Muhajirin are your brothers." After that, Muhammad would call an Ansar, then a Muhajir and say, "This and you are brothers." Now, they were truly brothers and sisters. The Ansar took their brothers to their homes. They made them stay with them. They gave them houses to live in. They gave them their share in the property and provided them with every kind of comfort. Now, Medina was their own homeland, where they had every kind of convenience, and this brotherhood strengthened the relations between the Ansar and the Muhajirin, and there was deep love and affection between the two. Each one began to love the other with all his heart. Whatever each one liked for himself, he liked for his brother too, and whatever he disliked for himself, he disliked for his brother too. Now, they were one soul and 2 flesh. The Muhajirin were accustomed to hard work. They started business as soon as they got the opportunity. Some started trading, and some started cultivating the Ansar's land. There is always blessing in movement, Allah's blessed business. Thus, they stood on their feet very soon and settled down in their homes again. There were also some Muslims who were very poor. They had no place to live. They were not fit for any business. In this way, 3 days would pass in hunger. Muhammad would take great care of them and would also give them alms from the treasury. There was a platform on one side of the Prophet's mosque. These poor people would lie there at night. In Arabic, a platform is called safa. Therefore they were called Ashabi Sufa. There was also a good population of Jews in Medina, and they were the bankers of Arabia. They ruled over Medina. In such a situation, there could be only one form of peace there. They should be happy and the relations with them should be pleasant. Therefore, the beloved Prophet thought of an agreement with them, and all the Muslim Jews in Medina should be free. No one should insult anyone's religion. No one should touch anyone's property. If an enemy attacks the city, then both are equal in the fight. If the booty is found, then they should share it equally. So, Muhammad talked to the Jews and they happily agreed. Everyone gathered in one place and a treaty was written. But this agreement could not last long, because the baseless fortresses of the Jews' false desires were coming to earth, and the expectations they had from Muhammad, they did not seem to be fulfilled. The Jews had been waiting for a prophet for a long time. Therefore, wherever they expected the prophet to come, they would go and live there. They thought that the coming prophet would be a follower of our religion. And when he came, our religion would become firm, and its voice would be heard everywhere, and the Christian religion would disappear from the world. This is why they were initially very happy with Muhammad's visit to Medina, and happily agreed to the agreement. But Muhammad presented a completely new religion, and told new things, which were completely against the Jews. Now, Muhammad became a thorn in their throat. They did not care about the agreement and put all their effort into opposing it. They were experts in starting and extinguishing it. Make others fight, then do your own thing, was their principle. They used the same principle here too, and tried to create a division among the Muslims but failed. Still, they were not disappointed and tried another trick. That is, now they started inciting the polytheists of Medina. So, they agreed with their words and joined them, that those who were Muslims would die for each other. They would suffer themselves, but would bring comfort to their brother. How could they agree with the words of these unfortunate people? They scolded them badly, and turned their backs in hatred, and remained wholeheartedly engaged in spreading Islam.